Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic podcast. This is Waking Up is Easy, Part 5. Case number A4752024. Report on interview with Catherine Halifax. Officers Wyland and Grand. Location Quiet Peace Coma Care Center, Windfall. Arrived at the center after a call from Audrey Lewis, Windfall longtime resident and ex-partner of Catherine Halifax. Halifax had been missing for several hours, according to Lewis, but was found alive and well at work. At the center, after confirming Halifax's well-being, we were informed that a person of interest had woken up unexpectedly earlier that evening. Jane Doe, number 3, case file A39822024, had been admitted to the center as a long-term coma patient 4 weeks earlier. Jane Doe, number 3, was found in critical condition and unresponsive in a car wreck in Windfall on August 4th, 2024. Doe, number 3, was brought to the Odina Hospital in Maplewood, but then transported back to Windfall on September 3rd. At this time, Jane Doe number 3 had acquired the nickname Usha amongst staff of the hospital in Maplewood. We do not know why, but the name was included in the Odina Hospital files handed over to the center. Usha was not expected to wake up anymore. Our department, at the time of her waking up, did not have any indication about her identity. Please check relevant and latest reports for more information in case file. This interview took place in the office of the Quiet Peace Center. In attendance, Officers Wyland and Grand, Catherine Halifax, and Maya Phillips, director of the center. Windfall is not a very big town. I wouldn't say everyone knows everyone here, but it's close enough. I'm not a very social person, as you've probably noticed, but most people know who I am anyway. Audrey lived here long before me. I moved in with her. We had a small downtown apartment before we bought the house together. I never imagined myself living in a town like this. I grew up in a city about 2 hours away. I even started my practice as a therapist there. But I found the place too overwhelming as I got into my late 20s. Windfall ended up being the perfect refuge for me. Windfall has this liveliness, but also a unique peacefulness. Most people are doing okay here. Somehow, Windfall has escaped the devastation of poverty and drugs. I guess we're lucky to have year-long tourism. The mountain has some hiking routes that are very popular, and hikers from across the country visit pretty much every season. Windfall also has some local factories and businesses that still manage to keep going, keeping much-needed jobs here, for now. Strangely, young people don't seem to run from this town after graduating. After getting their degree, they come back from the city to build a life here. Most of them, anyway. We have a family diner and bar, a small cinema, several local grocery stores, and an amateur theater group that's actually pretty good. Hey, we even have oat milk for our cappuccinos at the diner. I guess you could call Windfall the exception to an incredibly sad rule of small towns falling apart. I'm sure this is only partly to our credit. Maybe it's even random, and we just got incredibly lucky. Again, for now. Anyway, I'm sharing all of this to explain that a conversation with 2 police officers usually wouldn't feel threatening to me. Most officers here have been part of the community for generations. That night, though, a recent recruit from the city arrived at the center, along with one of the few officers I didn't know that well. I would have been reluctant to talk to the police even if I did know the officers better, to be honest. I guess it's no surprise things quickly got a little tense. Officer Wyland? Can you please describe what happened after the night nurse left the room? Catherine Halifax. Again? I already told you this. Officer Wyland. You say she asked you if you were awake. Halifax. Yes, that's all she asked, right after asking why she was here. Officer Grand. Did she say anything about who she was? Halifax. Like I told you before, no, she said nothing else. She just fell back asleep. Officer Grand. Do you know this woman? Does she know you? Halifax. I had never seen her before she arrived here. Officer Wyland. Why did she seem to know you then? Halifax. I honestly don't know. I don't think that she appeared to know me. Officer Wyland. Did she tell you anything about why she was in that car wreck? Halifax. No, of course not. You already know this. How many times do I have to repeat myself? Hope, the night nurse, was there. If you don't believe me, go talk to her. Officer Wyland. We will. Halifax. Can I go now? I need to get home. My, roommate is worried. Officer Grand. Your roommate? Halifax. My ex-partner. Officer Wyland. Yes. Let's take a step back and talk about your ex-partner. Why didn't you let her know you were still at work? Halifax. I don't see how this is irrelevant. That's between her and me. Officer Wyland. We're just trying to understand what happened here tonight. Halifax. Nothing happened. At least nothing to do with me. Officer Wyland. Then why did your ex-partner call the police? Halifax. I don't know. Officer Wyland. You didn't respond to her texts. Halifax. I was working. Officer Grant. You were with Usha. Halifax. Look, can I go? This is ridiculous. I know my rights. Maya, I am out of here. Interview ended after Halifax got to her feet. We made a note to follow up with her and her ex-partner in the coming days. I'm so sorry, Audrey. Something weird happened here. I should have texted sooner. I had to talk to the police just now. I'm okay. I'm sorry. Have you lost your mind, Catherine? What the hell is wrong with you? I'm leaving work now, okay? I'll be home soon. We can talk about it. I can explain everything. It's Usha, isn't it? Leaving now. See you in 20. I really am so sorry. Audrey was in her room by the time I got home on Monday night. I didn't dare knocking on her door, so I walked into my own room and plopped onto the bed. I tried to breathe in and out slowly, like I often tell upset family members to do. After about 10 minutes, not feeling any calmer, I heard Audrey moving around the house. My phone vibrated not long after. I almost ignored it because I wanted to shut everything and everyone out. I wanted to crawl under the sheets and pretend that this day hadn't happened. But I checked my phone, and it's a good thing that I did. Audrey had sent me a text asking me to come to the kitchen. I felt like I was being called into the principal's office. It had never felt that way the first few years of our relationship. Quite the opposite. Audrey had felt like a warm breeze on a spring day then. I loved coming home to her. But then slowly... Please excuse the nostalgic sentiment. I wouldn't share this if I didn't think you should know how different my life used to be. I need you to know what I used to have and what I lost over time. I think I lost most of it long before Usha woke up. I just didn't realize it. But that night, I lost all of it. It slipped through my hands while I thought I was holding on to everything the best I could. URL of webpage, whatdoesitmean.com. Title, meaning of the name Usha. First paragraph. Derived from the Sanskrit word for dawn, the name Usha symbolizes the first light that breaks through the darkness. In Hindu mythology, Usha is often revered as the divine deity of dawn, responsible for awakening all living beings and driving away the darkness of night. Why? Audrey asked as soon as I stepped into the kitchen. I knew it was no use in trying to come up with excuses. I don't know why, I sighed, bowing my head. I figured as much, Audrey said with a disappointed sigh. She walked to the fridge and grabbed the handle. Audrey loved to snack when she was upset. But she was also a very disciplined woman with a marathon coming up. She always had been much more disciplined than I ever was. Sometimes it annoys me how disciplined she can be. Audrey turned toward me slowly, but didn't meet my eyes. Sometimes I feel like I don't know you anymore, she said. Tears brimmed in my eyes. I know, I'm sorry. I feel like, Audrey continued, letting go of the fridge, I feel like you don't even know what's going on with you. I worry about you. I looked up in surprise. I had not expected this level of understanding from Audrey, at least not after making her worry so much. A tear ran down my cheek. It annoyed me, and I wiped it away. Have you watched that video I sent you? Audrey asked, resting her hands on the back of one of our old chairs. Another surprise. My chest tightened with impatience and frustration. I wanted to talk about what had happened tonight. I wanted to share that Usha woke up. Why didn't she ask about Usha? I know, I was very self-centered in that moment. It's just that I felt so shaken. Really, I was shaken to my core by that weird question. What did Usha even mean? Of course I was awake. I wanted to ask Audrey what she thought about Usha's words, but as much as I needed her to be there for me, I knew I was the one who had messed up tonight. I needed to be there for her. I haven't, I admitted and refrained from saying anything else. It's this crazy vlogger channel, Audrey continued, pulling the chair back and sitting down. It's called Freedom Crusaders. She's coming to Windfall. She's convinced the center is involved in some sort of cover-up. What? I snorted, more out of surprise than amusement. I have a bad feeling about her, Kate, Audrey said, rubbing her temples. She could be here already. She said she was leaving for Windfall. Lots of people are funding this craziness. That's why you called the cops? I blurted out, a little too incredulously. Audrey looked up defensively, meeting my gaze for the first time. No, she said. Maybe, she added after a second. I just thought, I'm sorry I made you worry. I sighed and joined her at the table. That is all my fault. And I should have watched that video. Audrey scratched her cheek. I did ask you. I know, I said. I should have realized how important it is to you. No, Audrey replied, annoyed again. I just want you to be safe. And I think you might not be. Come on, I started to say, but then realized I was about to minimize her concerns. I mean, I get it, Audrey replied, raising her hand. I sound paranoid, but I'm telling you, this vlogger, she's going to cause trouble. Did you tell the police about her? I asked, really hoping she hadn't. Audrey took a deep breath. No, I knew they wouldn't take me seriously. It was hard enough already to get them to go find you. Why didn't you, I started to say, come to the center myself? Audrey asked, leaning back in her chair. Yeah, I said, crossing my arms. That is something I don't know, Audrey said, closing her eyes. I tilted my head and waited. Okay, I do know, Audrey said. I was very worried about you going off the grid, but I was also very angry. Pursing my lips, I nodded. I think it's best if I leave tomorrow, Audrey said. I don't want to be this person. And your behavior, it's triggering me to be this person. I made a fool of myself by calling the police. What? I asked in alarm. Audrey, please. I won't do any of that again. No, I really am leaving in the morning, Audrey said, sounding startlingly certain. I'm going to stay with a friend in Maplewood until the marathon. That's what I wanted to tell you tonight. I can't do this anymore, Kate. Yes, I really think that night was the night everything truly started to fall apart. But was it me who started this collapse? Or was it Usha? You tell me. This was part 5 of Waking Up is Easy. If you're new to the podcast, go to lesbianromantic.com to find out more. Now, I'll admit, I need to update my website. It's a bit outdated here and there, but you can still find all the stories there and a link to my Patreon, where you can sign up for free for more recent and ongoing behind-the-scenes updates. This month, I'm celebrating 9 years of the podcast, and I will have some things in the shop and an announcement to make. So go to patreon.com/lesbianromantic or go to lesbianromantic.com and click support. And both those routes will take you to my Patreon account to make sure you don't miss a thing. Maybe one last thing. If you go to my Patreon this week, I've got this thing pinned at the top with the title, Let's Connect in a Different Way. And this will provide a link to a more discreet feed of this podcast. So if you don't like having the Lesbian Romantic logo in your podcast app for whatever reason, you can use that link and sign up to the podcast public free feed in that way, and it will have a different logo, a different name, and you'll recognize, of course, the podcast, but others won't. So go to my Patreon, patreon.com/lesbianromantic, and somewhere there you will find the post, Let's Connect in a More Direct Way, I think is the title, or a different way. You'll find it, and there you can click a link to sign up for the more discreet and direct public free feed. All right, now that is all for this week. Thank you so much for listening, for spending time with me. It is always a privilege, and we'll see each other again soon.